transitioning and accepting. Um, I think it's interesting because as you were talking about leaving Indiana and coming to Houston after resigning your job, the first thing I thought about was an open door. Or what I was thinking about was an open door. How you have to, you have to like in order to enter into an open door, you have to leave what you once knew behind. And I'm not sure, your whole situation that was up in Indiana, but like at least I'm kind of also adding myself in here too. Like I thought when you were talking, I thought about like even me like kind of going into transitioning into a new space. Um when you're leaving a space, what you don't sometimes it's not necessarily a toxic place that you're leaving. It could actually be a place that was pretty inviting, it was healthy, whatever the case may be. Um, when did you know that it was healthy enough for you to leave Indiana to Houston? Because I know for me, like I'm not always comfortable with leaving an old place
Hmm.
even though I want to get into the new open door. I
Right.
want to experience new things. I want to be able to gravitate to the things that God has called me to do. I really want that. But I'm not going to lie, there's pushback sometimes
Hmm.
because, you know, we always talk about, oh, yeah, especially when it's a new year. Everybody's like, oh, new year, new me. I can't wait till the new year starts. But like that new year is going to bring challenges. And it doesn't necessarily have to be bad things. It could be those things that, that are uncomfortable. You moving from another city, state to state, not even city, state to state. When did you know that it was healthy for you to leave?
Well, I'm gonna go back to part of what you said earlier. Like we want the new thing, but we kind of don't want to leave.
Mhm.
Change is inevitable. You
Hmm.
know, I don't know about you, but my favorite school teacher was my fourth grade teacher, Miss Dimitrov.
Oh, wow. The fact that you remember her name.
Yeah, loved that year. She was so fun. But at the end of it, I had to go on to the fifth, and that was the most inviting, the lovable class, the best teacher that you could possibly, the best environment that you could possibly be in.
Hmm.
But nevertheless, had to continue to go forward.
Mm.
So that's how I look at things. It's just like, okay, yes, everything might be copacetic here.
Yeah.
However, there's somewhere else that I aspire to be. And it may not be a matter of feeling comfortable, because the main thing is progression. No matter what you're doing, there's a point where you're uncomfortable until you become comfortable. So
Right.
there's that transition in there. And it's just like, I'm the type where I don't necessarily think about, like, oh, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. I don't think about the obstacles per se, because
Okay.
that's a lot of times is what keep people paralyzed, put
100%.
them in fear and keep them from moving forward. So it's just like, okay, all right, this is what I have here. I have someone who's allowing me to, inviting me into their home. So the positive is I get to save on that expense,
Mm.
So while not only do I save on that expense, but there's an immediate opportunity for me right there. So that way I can sustain myself.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty much looking at it as a catapult to set me up for success, because I don't have the out of pocket expenses on top of the
Mm.
fact that I still have bills at home.
Wow.
So I'm just looking at the positive aspect. So I'm like, all right, 30 days. I can see that will give me enough time to determine if this is a good move or not.
I wanna come in real quick. What you're talking about with expenses, that's probably one of the most top reasons why people don't move
Hmm.
and why people don't feel like, and it doesn't have to be moving from a city to city or state to state. It could just be just making that move or that next step because of expenses and finance. I think that we forget what I think we forget that we don't know tomorrow. um the whole purpose of even just being faithful and just moving and being ambitious and like you know the whole purpose of that is to move without even knowing the answer. Like that's what faith is. um I feel like we always feel like we have to have all the bells and whistles, we have to have all of our t's crossed and our i's dotted before we can actually take that next step. So for you to like I think it's very humbling to hear you say that I still got this and this going on, but I still got to make this move is what I'm hearing. And when I'm talking to like especially like some of my younger ones, like loved ones, my younger cousins and things like that, they feel like they have to be up here first
Mm-hmm.
before they can make that next move. And it's not as it's not as simple like that. Like I tell them all the time because sometimes you don't know if you're going to have that, and are you just going to keep staying here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like going into how how much do you want it that you're willing to go and stay in someone else's space?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's another thing too is how bad do you want it?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know when you were coming to Houston what the doors that will open for you? Did you have any thought like,
Not at all. Not at all. All I had was one former colleague.
wow,
That's the only person I knew in Houston. That's the only person I knew. As a matter of fact, I wasn't even aware that I found out that I have family here in Texas. But at the time,
wow,
I didn't even know I had family in Texas. So I came to Houston, came to Texas, only knowing one person.
but you would have known if you didn't leave.
I would exactly. I would have known if I would not have left. But kind of to your point too, I'm not saying just pick up and move
Yeah, of course, of
irresponsibly. I'm not saying
course.
be irresponsible. Like no, have a plan. Like if you have a job and you talking about you going on, on an on an entrepreneurial path, take into consideration, count the costs,
Whew.
count the costs, and set yourself up accordingly
Mhm.
to the best way as possible because you don't know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
But, kind of forgive me for jumping back and forth with,
No, keep going.
but all I only knew my former colleague. And I was just like, all right, we just gonna see. We just gonna see. I'm gonna be present and I'm going to see. Of course I'm optimistic, so I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm allowing myself to be here in this moment so I can absorb everything that there is. I can smell, I can see, I can taste, I can feel everything that's coming within my environment and make an assessment based off of that,
Mhm.
as opposed to a preconceived notion or a fantasy of like, oh, it's going to be like this and having rose-colored glasses. And because I want that
Mm.
fantasy so much, I'm actually delusional because it's a tornado in front of me.
Mm.
So I just allowed myself to be present and accept what was to come and was willing to walk in what came.
I love that. That's not always easy. Um, I don't think people understand is that when you walking into a new door, you have to leave the previous room, and you're walking into a new door. But here's the thing, though, and I don't know. I'm kind of seeing something like when I'm thinking about walking into a new door, I just see the doors open and there's just a bright light.
Yeah.
You don't see what's inside of there until you walk in. And even when you walk in, you still don't see everything, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So, like, to your point, you're seeing this tornado in front of you. You're like, oh my gosh, how am I able to do this? Do I go back? Because I think that sometimes just walking right in, that one step, because you only had one colleague, sometimes that one step makes people have regrets,
Mm-hmm.
that first week in Houston. I don't know what it was like for you, but I know for me, I've had loved ones that transitioned to the other cities or states. And that first month was hell.
Mm-hmm.
It was hell. But the greatest thing is that I haven't heard any of them come back home because you
Yeah.
don't figure it out,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that, you know, you have to be able to walk into a new space with that same with the same mentality of being optimistic as you were in the previous room when everything was copacetic, when everything was smooth, when everything was going the way that you wanted it to. Um, I have to ask, do you feel like you have any regrets? Like, was it when you first came here? Was it like, okay, maybe I should have stayed at maybe 5 days longer in Indiana?
When I would say no regrets. I wish some things happened
Okay.
that didn't occur,
Mm-hmm.
but no regrets because it's futile.
Mm-hmm.
It's futile. It's nothing I can change at this point. So it's just like, okay, this is what the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
How do I move forward?
Mm-hmm.
And in the future, how do I avoid this from happening again?
Okay.
So take not the L, but the lesson, and turn that experience into the lesson so it doesn't repeat itself.
So, okay, so that's good. When say for instance, you're getting into a new space, you're getting into a new environment, like how you were when you came from Indiana to Houston. Um, did you ever, is there anything ever that made you feel like you were almost getting demoted? Because sometimes, we're like, man, I can't wait to get to this place. It's like we want the thing, but we don't want to leave the last thing. Because sometimes I'm not gonna lie, like, even like for me, I transitioned from corporate America into this space. And I mean, I'm learning to love it. I won't say I completely like, oh my God, I love it. I'm still learning to love it because there was a comfort thing in that space. Because one, you're seeing a continuous check, you have all these benefits, you love your position, and what you do, it works. It works. It nothing like, and if it's something's broken, you can fix it because you are in the role that is able to fix it. But I'm not gonna lie, moving into still a beautiful space like this, it still feels like sometimes like a demotion because you're like, man, it's uncomfortable, it's weird, but I mean, it's working. But did you ever once feel like you were getting demoted?
From if we're speaking from a financial perspective,
Mm,
yes.
yo,
Yes.
yo,
I mean, because, being coming from medical sales, you know that you first, like, what that check look like. And
come
then
on,
at the end of every quarter, I got a bonus coming,
come on.
because I'm out there, I'm in these streets, I'm slanging and banging, and it's all legal. Now, I'm doing something totally different. It's 100% commission. And I don't know what the person in front of me, how they're going to take to my offer. Are they going to decline me? And if too many people say no, that means that my check looks like this. So, it was a demotion from the standpoint if you were looking at it from a financial perspective. But if you're looking at it from a lens of growth and opportunity and a place of optimism to see, like, okay, these are actually new contacts because I'm having conversations with these people. And now it's like, should we hit it off? This is a new network. I'm building a new network as well.
Right.
So it may not have came monetarily, but there was value in the relationship.
Right.
So it's all perspective, but counting dollars and cents, yes, there was a demotion.
Yeah, and you know what? And to your point, I'm glad you said that because I think the only reason why I felt like I got demoted because of dollars and cents, not because I didn't feel like I was gonna grow, like because this is definitely all about personal growth development. And I'm one of those people. I love growing. I love doing all these things that allows me to kind of have mental agility and things like that. But it hits different when you're used to a certain amount. It hits different when you have to sacrifice compensation. It hits different when you have to sacrifice those bonuses, those things that you had. And that's the thing about walking into a new door is that you have to sacrifice something. There's something that has to be sacrificed.